All right, I am live. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Way, where we talk book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones, but I'm not just operating as we're not talking about any of those other things that I normally do. We're actually talking about uh, some of the updates that I've been looking at doing for the the last month or so, as far as what projects I'm working on. So I don't remember where I was last month during the as far as like my writing workshops and all that, or writing projects. Um, but at this point, I do want to give an update on where I'm at with book six, uh, which the new title for book six in my Archives of Icínq-Régn series is called The Preludes of War. So when I finished drafting the series um, earlier this year, I ended up with 28 chapter files for draft one. Technically, it's a draft two because I handwrite all my chapters and then I type them up and transcribe them. But this was the first complete draft of the story, and so I had 28 chapter files on my computer. As of this past Wednesday, November 12th, I ended up finishing the first round of edits, and the first round of edits were concluded, and I was actually able to expand and break down some of the chapters and move things around with a total of 40 chapter files. This is so far, as far as chapters go. I This is the longest book I've ever done. Um, Book five, I think, was something like 28 or 29 chapters total. Um, this book is a little bit longer as far as the number of chapters. I don't know if it's going to be longer as far as the number of pages. And the reason being is because I have a couple of chapters that are under 1,000 words by themselves. And while some people might say, hey, that's not really a complete chapter, that's barely a short story, my response to them is, so what? I call it a chapter. Not all chapters have to be more than 5 pages or more than 2 pages, and there's a reason why. It feels like a good fit for what's happening in that particular scene, even if it's just a single scene. Um, so yeah, we have 40 chapters, and I'm in the process of starting beta reading. I have a friend of mine, Andrea from the Isle of Man, who is going to be beta reading for me again. She beta read on book five, The Mantle of the Fatherless, did a great job giving me feedback on the stuff that I needed. And I am recruiting from my writing group that I'm a part of. It's called Writers Haven. We meet here locally every other week. We just met actually this morning, and it was great because I found two more people who are interested in being beta readers, and I'm eagerly waiting to get their feedback on this. Um, so I'm hoping to hear back from them on that soon, as far as getting emails and everything. Um, but I'm not on any particular timeline. Once I get beta reader feedback returned to me, then I can start going through and making changes and tweaks and stuff like that, and I'll jump into the second round of edits. So this could take a few months. I'm not in any particular hurry, but I was actually pretty impressed with how quickly I got through the first round of edits. To be fair, when I'm at work, I'm working as a substitute teacher, so there's really not much for me to do. Most of the kids have stuff to do on Google Classroom, and so I'm there as just kind of like an extra body in the room to make sure that they aren't misbehaving too badly, and to give them permission to go use the restroom, or run errands or whatever they need to do on campus. So this gives me a lot of time to sit down and write, or to sit down and do edits. And sometimes edits can take a couple of days, as far as doing the markups on page, and then transferring those changes into the Word documents. I had one chapter, is actually chapter file number 27, that ended up becoming chapters 36, 37, 38, and 39. So I actually ended up breaking it into four parts, just because it seemed to it by itself, it was like 17 pages as a Word document, and that's keeping it double spaced. And I figured, and I might tweak that and change it back into what it was. I'm not sure yet. Um, we'll see how those go. But for now, that's what I'm working on. I did get last month. I mentioned the results I got back from Writers Playground and from NYC Midnight. I did not place in either of those competitions for the ones I just did. That being said, though, I am eager to participate. I know that Writers Playground has a new competition coming up in January. I will be signing up for that one. I'm very excited for that because Writers Playground is, I think, the one I have the most fun with. NYC Midnight, I do have a lot of fun with it, but because I jump back and forth between doing the 500 word short story and the 250 word microfiction stories, um, those are a little bit more condensed. I don't have as much to play around with, whereas the Writers Playground it's an open sandbox for me. Um, so I do enjoy what I was doing. And at some point, I'll share some of the newer stories that I've been working on. But as for this month, obviously the episode is entitled "Sardines" and "Sarah and the Fae." And so those are the stories that I'm going to be sharing with you from my book, Midnight Playground, which is a collection of short stories that I published earlier this year. Now, before I jump into reading those stories, I do want to talk about some of the events that I have coming up over the next couple of months. So let me pull up my calendar, at least for the rest of November. Let me see here. There we go. Okay, so um, I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. So this is for those of you who have never been to um, my website. This is my website, the Archives of the Icínq-Régn companion site. You can find it on in the link is down in the video description, obviously, but uh, you can just go to archivesofthefivekingdoms.com. This is the landing page. It gives a list of everything that I've got going on. So you can see, and it's got links to everything. So last week on the 8th was my November episode. It featured Tommy Lee Sexton as my guest host. It featured an interview with Leslie A. Lee, and then I gave writing tips for how to write in uh, Will o' the Wisp and Dragon Day or some other kind of holiday into your writing. It doesn't necessarily have to be in fantasy or anything like that. Obviously, today is the November live stream. In December, I have 3 episodes coming up. The first one is going to be on December 6th. That is going to be the holiday preview. The 13th is going to be my live stream for December, and then the 20th is going to be my December episode, which is going to have some great content as well. Um, but I do have some major events coming up. So I am going to be at the biggest one I have coming up is in February. February 7th is the is going to be the Moonlit Revelry Ball held in Visalia, California. Tickets, are, as far as I'm aware, are still on sale for this event. This is going to be held at the convention center in downtown Visalia, which is connected to the local Marriott. Um, and this is going to be equal parts fantasy convention and dinner and dancing. So from about 4 to 7, something like that, maybe even earlier. We're going to have the convention side of things. We're going to have a tattoo artist. We're going to have myself and several other authors, including Leslie Lee, who was featured in this month's author awareness interview. And then there's going to be other vendors as well. And then at around 7 p.m., the dinner portion will kick in. It's going to be catered. I don't remember what the food options are, but it's going to be catered. We're going to have a bar. There's going to be a dance floor. Come in your best fantasy regalia. Whatever it is that you want to dress up in, you'll be good to go. So that's going to be the major event that I have coming up. So I'll be there signing and selling books. I'm really looking forward to it. Um, I will be there to the best of my ability in costume to some degree, um, and I will be cosplaying as one of my characters. Probably one of my favorite characters. His name is Asher, and just because I base the character off of myself to an extent, so I can usually pull off the look. Um, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that's about it for upcoming events. So at this point, I'm going to start by reading my stories. So both of these stories, Sardines and Sarah and the Fae, were uh, prompted by competitions I did for NYC Midnight, and I'm not going to give any background on how the stories were generated right off the bat. I will talk sardines, especially. I will talk about, but because it is based off of something that I really experienced. But yeah, so here we go. Sardines. My hands fidgeted with anxious tensing as they clasped my knees to my chest. Trickles of sweat ran across my palms. My nerves sparked like miniature lightning bursts, an adrenaline infused staccato impatiently burning through my bloodstream. My heart thudded in my chest, threatening to burst from my ribcage like one of the monsters Sigourney Weaver fought in the movies. The tainted memory of watching Aliens with Dad forced me to remember that I hid inside the closet's pitch black darkness, buried under the bottom utility shelf behind a set of boxes and an old canister Hoover. A shiver forced my back to arch, and I smacked my head against the shelf bottom with a dull thump. I paused, hoping my pursuers hadn't heard me. The closet door swung open, answering my prayers. I never even heard the unlubricated doorknob turn, nor the seeker's footsteps clopping on the wood flooring outside the space. Bright light streamed from the seeker's flashlight. I only saw feet clad in worn black high tops. The laces double knotted. I held my breath, refusing to exhale for fear of betraying myself. I counted the seconds until the seeker switched off the torch, closed the door, and walked off. It was an eternity. The seeker carefully hid his footfalls from my ears, continuing the search. I stealthily moved from my nook and placed my ear to the door. I heard nothing. I finally sighed and ran towards the east end of the house. The seekers never found me. I won. So this story was based on a real event that I experienced when I was about 8 years old, 7 or 8, and I was in third grade at the time, and we flew to the Phoenix area to have Christmas at my aunt's house when she was still living there. She now lives up in near Sacramento, but the whole family was there. My dad's brother, his wife, their daughters, me and my brother, my parents, my grandmother, my grandfather, my dad's youngest sister, and her husband, and she was pregnant with her first kid. Um, and then my aunt in Arizona and her 3 kids. And it was awesome. Like we had a great time, all the cousins getting together, just getting to enjoy each other's presence, having family there. And I remember this night because my uncle Dan and my grandfather were sitting watching. I think they were watching football or something, or maybe they were watching a movie. I don't remember. But it was my turn to be it for the game of sardines. And if you've never played sardines, it's kind of like a reverse version of hide and seek. Like the person goes and hides, and then everybody who finds them goes and hides among with them. And if you're the last person to find the hiding place, you're it. The last time everybody was hiding in like a shower or something, and I was the last person to find them, so I was it. I went and hid in the closet, and we set a timer. It was like I think 10, 15 minutes for the round. If everybody was able to find me, then that. But nobody found me. I sat in that closet for the entire duration until the timer went off. At which point, I bolted for the other end of the house. And this was a fairly good sized house. I mean, it felt massive for me when I was a kid. It's probably not that big now as an adult. But I ran for for the other end of the house, and nobody found me. It was so much fun. Like everybody just kind of gave up and started playing Nintendo. Um, but it was great. I had a blast doing it. So yeah, that was the first story. That was Sardines, and that one was one of the first stories I ever wrote for NYC Midnight, and that was a 250 word microfiction story. The next one I'm gonna read to you is called Sarah and the Fae, and this one is a 500 word short story that has a couple of different places that are inspirational for it. Um, but this one I wrote again for NYC Midnight for their 500 word short story challenge. Didn't place, but I still had a lot of fun writing it because it was well within my wheelhouse. Sarah and the Fae. Not all fairy tales are happy stories. Sarah stooped at the faint depression in the lawn stretching out along Richmond Green as an armored figure demolished the Prince's Head pub. The chilly November air hung heavy, laden by the wanton desire to release the smallest inkling of precipitation. A light dew managed to materialize against the finely cut grass shards. She remembered listening to the shrill whistle of the train from Wales to England, the chug chug and clickety clack of the metal wheels, her mantra during the 4 hours she spent riding the rails across the United Kingdom. She spent 2 weeks in Swansea before this, pursuing a nasty puka terrorizing attendees at the Plantasia Tropical Zoo. The shape shifting hobgoblin repeatedly transformed into a goat or horse and took visitors on wild, concussion inducing rides across the zoo grounds if they made contact with the creature's back. As the little beastie put it was just a bit of mischief in honor of Samhain. Sarah entered the zoo with a pair of silver spurs attached to her worn leather combat boots, driving them into the puka's sides to control it before casting the banishment charm. Before that, Sarah wrestled with a far more malicious creature in Inverness, Scotland. The kelpie swimming in the loch began hunting on the night of the autumnal equinox, signifying the 3 days of Mabon. It swam from Inverness to Drumnadrochit to Invermorston to Fort Augustus and back, dragging unwitting victims into the frigid, dark water to feed on them. Sarah's banishment charm wouldn't stop it, resulting in her shooting and killing it with a silver bullet. Sarah briefly glimpsed the butterfly shaped impression in the park grass. The wing's upper lobes extended into sharp angular points like that of elf ears. The Fae's mark, its entry point from its own realm into the mortal plane, still glowed with vibrant magic. She needed to kill it, or the gateway wouldn't close. The movies and cartoons never got it right. The Fae didn't just look like miniature humans with butterfly wings. They took on a plethora of forms, most commonly something vaguely human like, when walking among mortals, and they certainly weren't benevolent visitors. Sarah hadn't planned on encountering another creature so soon after Wales. She called Richmond home, and she planned to meet some friends at the pub before heading to a football match. But the portal opened in front of her, and only she knew how to kill it. She drew a 9-inch long iron bladed knife from her travel pack and lunged at the figure, attempting to slaughter a family of 5 with a golden sword glowing like sunlight. She caught it just under the ribs, in a place unprotected by its cuirass. Purple blood oozed from the wound as the iron burned pale flesh. "You dare!" the Fae hissed. It lashed out at her, but Sarah ducked under the uncoordinated swing. She dodged once, she dodged once more and plunged her knife into its throat. The Fae gurgled and dropped, its gateway sealed. I had fun with this one. This one was in part inspired by Ted Lasso, which is the Richmond football reference. But it was also inspired by a couple of other things. It was inspired by a series of books that I had read, written by Tim Levin, uh, called the Relics series, which I really enjoy. It's about people who are finding out that uh, mythical folklore creatures like kelpies and fae and silkies were real things, that they existed. Um, It was also partly inspired by another story that I read. It was an audiobook called Tansy Bloom Monster Hunter. Um, and so when I got the prompt for doing this fairy tale fantasy story from NYC Midnight, it was kind of fresh in my mind, and so I just kind of ran with it and went with it, and I enjoyed it. And I looked at specifically um, creatures that would have shown up in those regions, like in Wales and in northern Scotland. If you didn't catch the reference to Inverness, Scotland, and the Loch, that's a reference to the Loch Ness monster, and I'm I make the association that a kelpie was the source of that. So yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this particular live stream episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I didn't see anybody in the chat, which is kind of a bummer, but I want to keep this short and to the point. I hope that you enjoyed the stories. If you get a chance to pick up a copy of Midnight Playground, it is available on Amazon. In fact, let me pull up Amazon right now. That way you guys can see it. Amazon.com. Um, yeah, you guys can pick up copies of it. On audiobook, you can get it for $6.08, which is kind of on sale right now. Paperback is $11.99, and if you prefer Kindle, you can get it on for $9.99. But there's also you also get the opportunity to if you have a subscription to Audible, and it's good. You can get at least one good credit out of it. Audiobook only is less than 2 hours, or maybe a little over 2 hours, and it's narrated by me. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. But if you want to get a copy of it directly from me, um, you can actually do that at my local shop, uh, Books on Square. The link is gkj-publishing.square.site/s/shop. You can get a copy of it here for $10. You can order it directly from me. It'll be signed, and I will get it shipped out to you guys. So if you can get orders, that would be great. Again, those links are down in the video description. Hopefully, you will be able to get a copy when you need to. That's going to be it for me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your November. If you are here in the United States, happy Thanksgiving. Have a safe holiday. If you're not here in the United States, hopefully you have a great rest of your month. And I'll catch you guys again on on December 13th with the next live stream. But again, you'll have the holiday preview the week before that on December 6th. So that's the next episode coming out. Hope you guys I keep repeating myself. Peace.